Then they got to introduce the virus into you in a so-called weakened form. Because if they didn't shut down your immune system first, your immune system could possibly kill off the virus they're going to shoot into you next. So first they have to disable your body. Then they got to put this in. Then after they put this in, then they kickstart your immune system with another shot. If you can trust that. And people go off there and line up like a bunch of squealing hogs run into a trough. Shoot me up! Whee! I'll be immune. Fighting to be first in line, right? Those famous last words, trust the government. We are here to help you. Right? They say everybody's got their shot. It's patriotic to have a shot. Common sense to have a shot. Well, a shot in the arm or a shot in the head, what's the difference? One's a little quicker, yeah. The other one takes a little longer. But the end result is the same. Now, isn't it something they're pushing this whole thing on us at the same time they're trying to push this health care thing through? And the health care thing was dying, dying, dying. People were revolting against it. Now, all of a sudden, Teddy Kennedy assumes room temperature. We have a martyr. All the Democrats, Republicans, all getting together. They said, let's get this one through for Teddy. Yep. They're going to call it, are you ready for this now? Kennedy Care. Huh? In honor of the Camelot family. See? Right? Well, yeah, yeah. Did you ever read that book, Teddy Bear, B-A-R-E? Where it tells about how he killed Mary Jo Kopechne, drove her off into, he could swim, you know, and she wasn't a swimmer, and she was pregnant from him. He drove off the little causeway there down into the water, let her drown, waited a half an hour before he even tried to get any help, then went around looking for a neck brace as if he was injured. He wasn't injured, but it looked, you know, there's nothing more that advertises an injury more than a neck brace. Got this big neck brace. There's nothing wrong with them. That was just for the effect that I tried. I got injured trying to help, see. Kennedy Care. Let's get this one through for Teddy. That's the cry on Capitol Hill right now. You've got to have a martyr. They never could get civil rights legislation through until John Kennedy was assassinated. Right? And the next step was Dr. Martin Lucifer King. Once they popped him, then more legislation came through. It's called legislation by death. You have a martyr. You play on the emotions of the people. All of a sudden it's all revived again. The whole attitude changes. The ceremony of it all, the tears running down the face, the burial in Arlington Cemetery. Doesn't it just clutch you right here? See how it works? When things start to fail and fall apart. How about that space program years ago? Some of you are old enough to remember this. I know John and Gordon, some of you people are just a little bit older. A little bit. Remember some of this? Remember Gus Grissom, the astronaut? And White and these guys? The space program was dying out. Funding was dying. No interest. Interest was going out on it. And all of a sudden they decide to broadcast and televise a test in a chamber, in a module. They never have ever done that, televised and broadcast a test. It wasn't a launch. They put these guys in a chamber. It was just a test. And they had the oxygen turned up beyond 33% in there. And they provided a little spark, and these guys burned to death. In a moment, incinerated them. Now we had martyrs. All of a sudden, funding came in for the space program. That's the Congress pushing things to everything. Oh, we got to have this. We got to do this for these dead guys. You know, it's reminiscent of the Chicago underworld, from which Obama came from, by the way. But it's reminiscent of the Chicago underworld, where the mafia comes in, and they get one of their hitmen to go out, and they shoot this guy, right? And being good Catholics, well, what they do, they shoot the guy, and the same guys that shot the guy buy a big wreath of flowers and big funeral for him and everything. Throw suspicion off from themselves. No, it is amazing when you think about it. And this is a fact. When you had the Pope come over to, every so often he'll come someplace, and when he does, there's always a disaster. But when he was in Chicago that time, and he stood by the lake shore, and he did the Mass, and took that host and that cup, that chalice, and started talking about dominoes. The Latin, you know, Domine Sancto, you know, going through this whole thing. And he's up there, and the Chicago Sun-Times and Chicago Daily News and all these papers, front page, the Pope's holy presence in Chicago, crime rate plummeted down to practically nothing while His Holiness was here. And all it was is that nearly everybody in the underworld was Catholic and took the day off to see the Pope, which is why the crime rate went down. The thieves took a day off. The murderers took a day off to see their God. Am I being too rough this morning? If I am, tough. I got to do this. Anyway, so here, Jesus is facing this obnoxious religious crowd, but now he finds some that believe in him, and he says they need to continue in his word, then they'd be his disciples indeed. And that they would know the truth. Ye shall know the truth, verse 32, and the truth shall make you free. If that's the case, how much freedom is there in the United States? If you measure it by the amount of truth you get. Of course, now Dan Rather wants to have the White House control all news media. No independent news. Got to come through the White House. I'm telling you, if Joseph Goebbels, Dr. Goebbels, was still alive, Obama would hire him. Hitler got him first, you know, and that was another age. But same attitude. They answered him, we be Abraham's seed, and were never in bondage to any man. How sayest thou, you shall be made free? How do you say that? Notice the declaration. We be Abraham's seed. We were never in bondage. You go back to Genesis 15, and you find that God said to Abraham that his seed would be in bondage for 400 years. In the land of Egypt, they were in bondage for 400 years. And when God took them out, he gave them the Passover so they would never forget that they were in bondage. That was the purpose of the Seder table. They had bitter herbs, they had carousas, they had the boiled egg, they had the shank bone, you know, all like they do it to remind them, you were in bondage. What are they saying here? We're Abraham's seed, we were never in bondage. But every year they had the Passover, they forgot what it was all about. The cause was long ago forgotten, but the religion went on. They went through the mechanics of it. They went through the motions. But the purpose of it was gone, wasn't there anymore. Do you think that has happened to Christianity today? Are people going through the motions, but they don't understand the responsibility of submission to God, of obedience to Jesus Christ, of laying it all on the altar, of getting down on their knees and crying out to God? They will attend. They will sing.